This video describes a system for sanding the facets on these wood pieces that were created with the Accu-Facet system. And these facets were created on the bandsaw, and as a result they have a lot of saw marks on the bandsaw that need to be sanded out. Now these could be sanded by hand or with a file, but it would take quite a bit of work. It would be better to have a system to sand these on a disc sander to get them more accurate and faster and easier to sand these surfaces. So this is a system we put together. It consists of a miter bar, a brass miter bar that slides in the miter bar slot. And this is the Grizzly model G0702 disc sander. And what makes this sander so unique is it has both the vertical and horizontal miter bar slots for the table. But not having this nice vertical miter bar enables me to create a miter bar that slides into that slot with a plate attached, and this plate has a series of holes spaced 2 inches apart that I can attach my L bracket support plate from my Accu-Facet system. And this just slides in this channel on the Grizzly Disc Sander. And again, this is my L bracket support plate from my Accu-Facet system. It has a pivot point which mounts in one of the holes on this plate, and then the second hole is used to select the angle you want to sand. So I'll be sanding first of all these inner surfaces. So I'll be mount this to this inner hole here. Attach that. And I know my angle here was 20 degrees. So I'll set this to 20 degrees and lock it in place. So next I attach my piece that came off the Accu-Facet system. I can mount it in the hole. And let me use a large black thumb screw to attach it. And I set my index angle for the first position. Now when I'm sanding with this disc, I have a 220 grit sandpaper on here, and I like to sand as close to the center as I can, so it's not sanding so quick. You sand on the outside surface, it's running pretty high speed, a lot of surface pass, and if you're not careful, you can actually burn the wood. So I rather, sand on the inner surfaces where the speed's a little bit slower. So I'll be sanding 6 facets on here, and I have my first angle set. And what I like to do here is I like to go in and try and get all 6 surfaces exactly the same. So I usually go in at a certain speed, a certain pressure, and maybe I'll go like 1, 2, pull it away, and then do the next one and keep doing that. And try and get them all symmetrical. If they're not symmetrical, they're always going to be adjusted by resanding the surfaces that are off, but let me try and get it as close as I can. Create a sanding pattern to evenly sand the faces. Try to use the same pressure and time on each sanding face of the facets on each of the layers. However, if one or more of the facets should become uneven, you can always go back and sand the individual facets that need to be adjusted to create the perfect pattern. I'm using the same process used on the bandsaw to sand these facets. In other words, I set my index pin in one of the holes on the pattern plate, sand the surface, bring it back, loosen my black thumb nut, rotate it 2 steps, tighten the black thumb screw, and sand that surface. And repeat that until all 6 surfaces have been sanded. And again, trying to get each of the surfaces the same exact amount of sanding. So those are those 6 surfaces. Sanded, the saw marks are all gone, and it goes to a perfect point in the center. So now let me go now and get these surfaces. These surfaces are a little bit rougher, so a lot more saw marks on those. So let's see how those come out. Now these were cut at 50 degrees. And they are indexed 1 position over, so I'll move my indexing 1 step. And that should be the right angle for that. So again, I'll get these 6 facets sanded. Once again, I'm sanding on the inner surface of the sanding disc to avoid burn marks. And again, sanding a surface, loosening the black knob, rotating the pattern disc 2 steps, tightening the black knob, and resanding the surface. and repeating that until all the surfaces have been sanded. Okay, there's those surfaces now, which are really good now. So let me finish off with these 90-degree surfaces. There's actually 12 of those to sand. It's a little too close, I have to move it out. That's the purpose of these multiple holes, so I can position this any place. If I wanted to sand it way out here, I could sand it way out here. But somewhere in the middle will do fine. Again, I attached the first brass thumb screw in the pivot hole in the L bracket support plate, and then set the second brass thumb screw in the 90-degree position on the plate. Again, I use the same process as before to sand the facets, except I do not skip a step. I sand all 12 of the facets. Okay, here's a slightly different angle, so you might be able to see this a little bit better as I'm sanding. Notice as I'm sanding, I'm doing a very, very light touch. Just a quick, light touch to sand the surface. You don't want to burn the wood. Well, there's the finished sanded piece after sanding on the disc sander. They're nice and smooth, much better. All the saw marks are gone at this point. Now I can do one more sanding on like a floppy disc sander to get it a little bit cleaner. So let me go and do that next. I normally do a final sanding on this sanding mop. I have some 320 grit sandpaper on here, and I just do a final sanding to clean this up. As I'm sanding here, I'm aligning each of the facets with the flat edge of the buffing wheel, trying not to round off the corners as I'm sanding. And there's the final sanding on that piece. And this is ready to be finished. Usually I finish with bush oil and then polyurethane finish. This is the brass Miter Bar with aluminum plate for the Grizzly model G0702 disc sander. For additional information on the Accu-Facet system, including additional videos and pictures of our projects, please visit our website and click on the Accu-Facet tab.